All right, it is a little past 6. We do have quorum. I'm going to go ahead and call this evening's meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals for the City of Florence to order. First item on this evening's agenda is approval of the minutes from the March 25th, 2021 meeting. Minutes have been submitted to members of the board at ample time to review. Are there any amendments or changes to the minutes? All right, there being none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve or deny the minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
That we approve.
Oh, we are.
Second.
All right, thank you for that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. The minutes are approved. Next item on this evening's agenda is public hearing number BZA-2021-05. A variance request from the lot requirements in table 1-2.21B for new lots and table 3-8.1.1 for accessory building setbacks in the Unified Development Ordinance. Location is 1300 Madison Avenue, tax map number 90047-07-011. Owner of record is David Alderman, applicant is David Alderman, and the board will now hear from city staff.
Thank you. This is sharing. Here we are. Yes, this is a request for a variance from the minimum lot size area and setback requirements for a lot located at the corner of Madison Avenue and South Edisto Drive. This is a vicinity map showing where it is on Madison and Edisto. This is a little bit closer shot. It's a single family neighborhood, well established. And it is zoned neighborhood conservation 15, which is the most restrictive of the residential districts. And the future land use is for neighborhood conservation as well. So the request in a nutshell, Mr. Alderman, who is here tonight, owns both 1304 and 1300, as you can see on this site plan. The lot that consists currently of 1304 is in the green box. And then 1300 currently consists of the red and what's shown in the red and the blue boxes. There are 3 buildings on these 2 parcels. There is a brick accessory building on the rear of the lot at where 1300 is located, and that's shown in that blue square. And the property line between the 2 lots goes right through the side of that accessory building. So what Mr. Alderman is requesting to do would be to subdivide the parcel that 1300 is on and take out that section that's outlined in blue and hook it onto the green section, turn it into a large L-shaped lot. And that would leave about 10,000 square feet, give or take, for the 1300 parcel. In the NC 15, the minimum lot size for new lots is 15,000 square feet. So this would be about a third smaller. But the average lot width of other lots in the neighborhood is 70 feet by 200 feet. So they're about 14,000 square feet, give or take, with some variety. They're not planning to take any buildings down, and so visually it would not change the character at all. It just would result in a smaller yard for 1300 and would remove the impediment of the parcel line going right through that existing building. He wants to use it as an accessory storage building. And under the old ordinance, accessory buildings only needed to be 3 feet off of the parcel line. Under the new ordinance in this district, it would need to be 10 feet. But if you were to subdivide it with providing a 10-foot side setback on that accessory building, then you'd be cutting into that circular driveway. And he wants to preserve that so that the new owner, because he does want, the whole reason for doing this is so that he can sell off 1300, subdivide it and sell it off. And he wants to preserve that circular driveway so the new owner will have easy access onto Edisto. So that's the reason for the 2 variance requests. These are photos of the 3 buildings involved. 1300 is the one on the left, 1304 is the white building, and then the accessory building, which he says was a garage, and then his father built onto it towards the left there. And it does have a little bathroom in it, but it's not set up as a house. There's no concern about it being used as an accessory dwelling unit. They do just want to use it for storage. And so these are some site photos. You can see the picture on the upper left where that fence is right along the property line, and it is right next to or through the side of this. That's the picture of the back of the accessory building. And the rear yard of 1300 Madison showing the circular driveways in the upper right. And then the picture on the bottom, there is a little parking pad in front of the accessory building. That's where the van is. And then that red line is basically where the new property line would go. So it would cut that little parking pad off, but preserve that circular driveway. The ordinance chart, table 12221B of the neighborhood conservation subdistricts, NC 15, does require a minimum lot area for new lots of 15,000 square feet with a minimum lot width of 100. That's kind of a moot point since it's already 70 feet wide. And then the permitted encroachments, the rear setback for accessory buildings should comply with the principal building setback for the district. So that would, which would be 10 feet. So the variance conditions, that variance from the terms do not be contrary to public interest. Enforcement of the ordinance leaves the accessory building on the property line, which makes it difficult for the owner to sell either lot. That the spirit of the ordinance will be observed, safety and welfare secured, and justice done. Because these are existing lots with existing houses, the purpose of lot size minimums to provide adequate equivalent distance between houses is a moot point. And no new construction is proposed. That there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions. There is an accessory building constructed across the side property line between the two parcels. That the conditions don't generally apply. Other properties don't have a significant accessory building in their rear yard that was built over a shared property line. That because of these conditions, the application would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of property. Without the variances allowing smaller lot size and decreased setback, the owner of the property would not be able to utilize the accessory building. And once he sells the lot at 1300, there would be issues with the building being on the side property line. And if the 10-foot side setback is enforced, the new rear property line would cut into the circular driveway. And that the authorization will not be of substantial detriment. The properties will not change visually at all if the variances are granted. And the only real distinction will be that 1300 will have a smaller backyard and surrounding parcel split. So that concludes staff's report.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for city staff or members of the board? All right, before we continue, I did want to just full disclosure. The chair does currently live at 1007 South Edisto Drive on the other side of Cherokee for this location. I'm not going to be impacted. I'm renting, but just for full disclosure, is whenever I didn't know. But Mr. Chico, Ms. Dees, Ms. Moses, any questions?
No question.
All right, thank you very much. All right, the board will now hear from the applicants. Mr. Alderman, if you don't mind, sir, could you step over to the podium? And this is a quasi-legal hearing, so I'm going to swear you in. Do you promise that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
All right. All right, Mr. Alderman, you may proceed.
Start to take my mask off.
Yes, sir.
Please, thank you.
If you're going to sneeze, just let us know.
I just want to thank y'all for having me here today. What Elaine said, I really don't know what to add to it. It is to be help me out because on both properties, but at least in the future, I'm looking at possibly selling 1300 Madison. And that office was my dad's office. Then we turned into a workshop. It's kind of a family type thing. We use it for storage and just things. So it would just be beneficial if we could keep that intact and tie it into 1300 Madison. So, and the setback of 3 feet, it would be, because I do not want to cut into, if I sell the property to that property, the circular driveway, it would shorten and be harder. Trying them to get access to Edisto, the circular driveway works much better than having to back out on that.
All right. Are there any questions for Mr. Alderman from members of the board? All right. Very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Alderman. Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard either for or against the application? All right. There being none, the chair will now entertain a motion to either approve or deny the variance request from members of the board. Ms. Moses, Ms. Dees, Mr. Chico?
I think Ruben's trying there.
Ruben, I think we got you muted, buddy. Can you unmute?
Hello.
There you are.
Yeah, I'm trying to crib it out here. I think I'll be ready to make a motion here in just a moment.
Take your time.
All right. I'm sorry, I got lost.
Are you still wanting to make a motion, or you I can give you some more time?
I'm just trying to figure out how to word it.
Okay.
Basically, I'm looking at the staff report, and I agree with everything in the staff report.
Well, it is written so that you can use that wording if you'd like.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, you don't have to change the wording if you don't want to.
Okay. Can I just make a motion that we accept? I make a motion that we grant the variance with the based on the wording of the staff report.
But
That's what I was trying to do.
Unfortunately, we can't cut and paste. we gotta have.
Yeah.
We have verbiage.
Okay. Let's see. Let me just try to read through it in real English then. I move that we grant the request for the variance based upon the following findings of fact: that a variance from the terms of the zone, that a variance from the terms of the zoning ordinance will not be contrary to the public interest when, because of the special conditions, a literal enforcement of the provision will, in this individual case, result in an unnecessary hardship, in that enforcement of the ordinance leaves the accessory building on the property line, which makes it difficult for the owner to sell either property. 2, that the spirit of the zoning ordinance will be observed, public safety and welfare secured, and substantial justice done, because these are existing buildings, existing homes with an existing circular driveway. The existing the purpose of the lot size minimums is to provide an adequate and equivalent distance between houses is a moot point. 3, that there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to this particular property. Namely, there's an accessory building that was constructed across the side property line between the two parcels. 4, that these conditions do not generally apply to the other property in the vicinity, in that other properties do not have a significant accessory building in the rear yard that was built over a shared property line. 5, that because of these conditions, the application of the zoning ordinance to this particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property by, by restricting the utilization of the accessory building, and also the opportunity to sell the side property, to sell either property. Additionally, the 10-foot side setback, if the 10-foot side setback is enforced, the new rear property line would cut into the circular driveway on South Edisto. 6, that the authorization of the variance will not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance, because the properties will not change visually at all due to the variances granted. The only real distinction is that 1300 will have a smaller backyard than the surrounding parcels.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chico. Do we have a second?
Second,
Is that Ms. Moses?
yes.
All right, thank you, Ms. Moses. All those in favor of granting the variance request, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion is carried. The variance request is approved. Mr. Alderman, we are finished with this part of the hearing. You are more than welcome to stay. I know this is a riveting experience for everyone involved, but if you wish to leave, that's fine too. Thank you very much. All right, next item on this evening's agenda is hearing number BZA-2021-06. A variance request from the fence requirements in table 3-8.1.2 and figure 3-8.1.2 of the Unified Development Ordinance for a residential lot. Location is 2217 Pine Forest Drive, tax map number 01792-05-016. Owner of record is, I'm going to mispronounce this, Shara Hale, applicant is Shara Hale, and the board will now hear from city staff.
Thank you. All right, well, the applicant is requesting a variance from the requirements for location and style of fences for a residential parcel located in on Pine Forest Drive, which is the neighborhood across the street from MUSC down on Panther Hill Highway. This is the close-up of it. Again, it's a single-family neighborhood. It's zoned NC 6 or NC 10. I'm sorry. So these are slightly smaller lots. According to the Unified Development Ordinance, fences in front yards are supposed to be up to 4 feet tall with a 50% transparency. The owner is, and with the right side of the fence facing outward from the parcel. This is a site plan of the lot. The dark blue line is the, she's got a chain link fence around the rear yard. The yellow lines is the wooden stockade fence that they are in the process of installing. And then the turquoise blue line is the property line going around the front. And you can see from here that it's still a fair distance, probably about 10 feet or so, to the edge of the pavement from the property line. So the edge of the fence, it's only going about halfway down the front yard, as you can see in these photos. They are putting up a wood stockade fence, and I believe it's about 5 feet tall. And it does not have transparency. It is an opaque fence. The purpose for it is she's having problems with her neighbors. The next door house is a rental, and it's a single woman living by herself, and she's had problems with the neighbors, and she just wanted some quick relief from being hassled by them. Her father was the one putting up the fence. These are some site photos, and they're in your packet as well, that were submitted by the applicant. And this was actually, we did not learn of this through a complaint by a neighbor. Our codes enforcement officer just noticed this and brought it to our attention. The variance conditions are that a variance from the terms of this ordinance would not be contrary to public interest. The applicant is looking for a degree of privacy that would not be met by a literal application of the ordinance to her situation. She doesn't feel that a 4-foot picket fence would give her the privacy that she desires. That the spirit of the ordinance will be observed, safety and welfare secured, and justice done. The intent of the ordinance is to provide visibility and openness along streets in a residential area. This request does enclose a portion of the front yard, but the half closest to the street is left open. That there are extraordinary exceptional conditions pertaining to this piece of property. The behavior of the neighbors requires the applicant to desire to take measures to mitigate its effects. That these conditions do not generally apply to the property. The house next door is a rental rather than owner occupied. That because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to this parcel would prohibit or restrict utilization of the property. Requiring adherence to the specifics of the fence ordinance would not provide an adequate level of screening that the applicant is desiring to have. And that the authorization will not be substantial detriment. because the fence doesn't go all the way to the street, it does not completely disrupt the streetscape. And additionally, it is easily removed if the problem with the disruptive neighbor is resolved in the future. We did suggest planting shrubbery and all that, which would have the same effect, but she doesn't have 5 years to wait for that to go up. So
Right.
that's the reason for the quick fix. So that concludes staff's report.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions for city staff from members of the board?
No.
And just
Yeah,
to clarify,
Yes,
oh, I'm sorry.
I've got a question.
Go ahead.
Looking at the ordinance, let's see, the height issue, maximum height. For front yard, it says 4 foot, subject to this section, but then for side yard or for side, it says 6. Which one applies in this case?
In this case, it's the front yard because it is forward of the front plane of the house.
But it doesn't extend all the way to the road. How approximately how far does it extend towards the road?
It looks like it's about, I'd say 20, 25 feet from the road and probably about 10, 15 feet from the edge of the property line.
All right, and I'm looking at the overhead view, judging by the length of the car. Yeah, it's extending, I'd say probably 15 to 20 feet from the front of the house.
Right,
Okay.
which is what makes it a front yard instead of a side yard fence.
Okay, so the variance being requested is both for the height of the fence and the lack of transparency.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chico.
Yeah.
Ms. Dees, Ms. Moses, do you have any questions?
No question.
And just to clarify, this was not a complaint from a neighbor. This was city codes enforcement.
An observation.
Okay. All right, there being no other questions, the board will now hear from the applicant. Is Ms. Hale on the line? Negative.
Now, I did notify her and her father, who was the one that was putting up the fence, but I hadn't heard back from them.
Okay. And just to let members of the board know, there are no members of the, there's nobody here other than us. So there's not anybody hiding in the wings. So being that the applicant is not here, we will go ahead and move forward. The chair will now entertain a motion to either approve or deny the variance request. Mr. Chico, you have earned your participation badge for this evening's meeting, so it's up to Ms. Dees and Ms. Moses to earn yours.
I'm trying to see how to say it. No, I'm not quite sure, so just bear with me. I'm new, very new, so if I mess up something, you said just, I'm gonna read along, so please.
You don't have to be new to mess up. I've proven that.
Okay. So,
Just take your time and get your ducks in a row.
I don't know. Okay, so okay. I move that we grant the request for a variance based upon the following findings of fact: that a variance from the terms of a zoning ordinance will not be contrary to the public interest when, because of the special conditions, a literal enforcement of the provisions will in an individual case result in an unnecessary hardship, because the applicant is looking for a degree of privacy that would not be met by a literal application of the ordinance to our situation. Hope I said that right. Number two, that the spirit of the zoning ordinance will be observed, public safety and welfare secured, and substantial justice done. This is the intent of the ordinance to provide visibility and openness along the street in the residential area, while this request does enclose a portion of the front yard that have closet to the closest, to the street is left open. I'm trying to read fast, so please forgive me, that there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. Let's see. Piece of property, I guess due to the behavior of the neighbors requires the applicant to make measures to mitigate its effect. That these conditions do not generally apply to the other property in the vicinity. The house next door is a rental unit rather than an owner's occupied. That because of these conditions, the application of the zoning ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. Because requiring, let me see, to the specifics of the fence ordinance would not provide any adequate level of screening. That the authorization of a variance would not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district would not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Due because the fence does not go to the street, it does not completely disrupt the streetscape. Yes. Yeah, that's it, I guess.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Dees.
I do apologize. I was reading really fast. I think I messed up.
You're fine. Do we have a second?
I think Ruben raised his hand.
Oh, Ruben, is that you trying to second?
Yes, second.
Oh, there you go, okay, all right. All those in favor of granting the variance request, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? The ayes have it, the motion is, granted, the variance request is approved. And that is it for this evening's agenda. Are there any announcements from city staff for members of the board? Anybody from the board? You guys need to discuss anything before we adjourn?
So the city offices are open now. If we choose to come in, we can, right?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
Our offices never closed. We've always been open to the public. We've had, we did ask for a while that people schedule meetings and such with us to try to limit some of that, but we're pretty much wide open for business now.
All right. Very good.
I do have one question. Are we looking to do any trainings? I think when I first started on the about a training. So
Well, there was I sent you the link for the training with the state, just for in general. I know Mr. Chico did that and Ms. Moses did that as well. We had to do it in person, but they've since changed it that you can do it at your own pace and for free. But I can send you that link again if you'd like. And then, yeah, we are working on doing something probably with the city attorney to get some more, since y'all are a little more specific here.
And how just to gauge everybody's interest, if we got everybody together in person in a large space, spaced out to have an in-person training with the city attorney, how would you feel about
that would be fine with me.
Oh, that's fine with me.
that? Okay, all right. I mean, obviously, we would space everybody out and have a large enough room, maybe even here in city council chambers spread out. I think if everybody's open to that, then because I'd really, the Zoom environment for training, while it's good, a lot of us, we haven't seen each other in person for so long, and we've got new members. It'd be kind of nice to get everybody together in person, and we could get Jim Peterson, the city attorney, to do a little training for us on some of the particulars of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Yeah. I did get permission from the city attorney the city manager to set that up. So yeah, we're good.
Excellent.
Great. If you don't mind, if you could send that link to everybody one more time.
Sure.
Yeah. And if you have completed it, don't worry about it. All right. Are there any other questions from members of the board? All right. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn this meeting, the zoning.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. The meeting is adjourned. We will see everybody back here May 27th, 2021. Thanks, guys.
May
Good evening.
27th.
Bye, everybody.